The day my sister was found, my parents and brother, their faces alight with joy, heard my inner voice. Great, my sister is finally back. It's just a pity that Dad's project is about to be snatched away by someone. Should I remind Dad now? Mom looked at my sister with tears in her eyes, ready to give her the family heirloom jade bracelet worth tens of millions that was on her wrist. Sigh, once Mom lets go of it, it's gone for good. In a little while, my sister will pretend to accidentally drop and shatter the jade bracelet just to test her place in Mom's heart. What a pity for such fine quality. My brother was so excited, he was about to pick up my sister. I tilted my head and looked at him. Big brother is pitiful too. His girlfriend is currently sitting on his good buddy's lap. When his girlfriend tells him she's pregnant tonight, making him an unwitting father, I wonder if he'll still be as happy as he is now. And the next second, Dad's phone rang. My gaze remained on my sister, seemingly not noticing the frozen expressions of my parents and brother. Dad hesitated for 2 seconds before answering the phone. A moment later, his expression changed drastically. What? Okay, I understand. Putting down the phone, the surprise on Dad's face from Sushi's return instantly turned strange. Even Mom's voice trembled. Honey, what's wrong? Dad glanced at me again, then said dryly, we just got news that the company's key project for the first half of the year was snatched by a competitor. There's probably no room for negotiation. I shook my head, feeling a bit sympathetic. Dad and brother have been so busy with this project for half a year they barely came home. Now, all their work has been for nothing. Brother was even ridiculed by the competitor's son for a long time because of this lost project. So embarrassing. Instantly, 2 gazes fell on me. I watched Mom's hand pause on the bracelet she was about to take off, and I sat aside nonchalantly. Now, Mom was stuck, not knowing whether to take off the bracelet or not. It was Sushi who noticed Mom's movement and delightedly stepped forward, yanking the jade bracelet off Mom's wrist, ignoring the flash of pain on Mom's face. Mom, are you giving this bracelet to me? Sushi dangled the bracelet with 2 fingers, hugging Mom coquettishly. You said when I was little that you'd save all the good things for me. Mom, you're the best. Sushi didn't see the sudden tension in Mom's eyes and was about to put it on. The unexpected happened. The jade bracelet that was in Sushi's hand a moment ago instantly fell to the ground, and the bracelet Mom cherished so much shattered into several pieces. Now, even Mom's face couldn't help but twitch uncontrollably. Oh, Mom. Sushi pouted, feigning shock. My hand slipped and I accidentally broke it. You won't blame me, will you, Mom? As Sushi said this, a flash of triumph crossed her face, as if she was certain their love and longing for her would outweigh this one jade bracelet. But when she looked up expectantly, she found her parents and her brother Su Shijin looking at her with undisguised shock. Damn it! Su Shijin's face suddenly turned pale. He grabbed his phone and hurried away, seemingly making a rushed call to his girlfriend. Dad, Mom, are you angry? She really didn't mean to. Sushi saw that her parents' expressions were a bit off, and her big eyes immediately welled up with tears as she pitifully began to apologize. Here we go again. Soon, my sister will start playing the victim card with Mom and Dad, talking about how miserable her life was after being abducted. Poor Mom and Dad, so kind-hearted, they'll give her a large sum of money as compensation, not knowing that she'll use all that money on male escorts. Sure enough, the next moment, Sushi's tears began to fall uncontrollably. She whimpered about how much she missed her parents after being abducted as a child, how she was often beaten, how her body was always covered in scars that wouldn't heal, how she even had to sleep in a dog cage, eat moldy food, and was almost sent to one of those scam compounds. Dad, Mom, being able to see you again, I feel so happy. I picked at my nails nonchalantly. My sister is about to show her so-called scars, but those scars were self-inflicted, just to gain sympathy. Mom indeed fell for it. She grabbed Sushi's wrist, carefully examining the already scabbed scars, her voice trembling. These wounds, did they do this? Sushi flinched, her eyes darting around, but she still nodded, choking back sobs. Yes, they hit me. They often hit me, saying I was a money-losing burden, hard to sell. She hugged Mom tightly again. I'm so glad I'm back, Mom. I missed you so much. I pursed my lips. Her adoptive parents treated her better than their own child, giving her a large allowance every month, yet she turned around and falsely accused them. How disgusting. She spent all that money chasing celebrities. Mom and Dad exchanged a look, their faces grim. Dad patted Mom's hand and stood up. I'm going to make a call to the office. I glanced at Dad's retreating back, using the motion of fixing my hair to hide the sneer at the corner of my mouth. Only I knew Dad wasn't calling the office. He was having someone investigate what really happened to Sushi all these years. Dad was such a suspicious person. After hearing so many of my inner thoughts, how could he still trust Sushi without any reservations like before? After Dad left, Sushi put on an even more dramatic performance, crying about how she didn't have enough food or warm clothes and had to do a lot of work after being sent to her new family. Mom, however, was clearly not as agitated as in my past life. She just gently patted Sushi's back, offering some perfunctory comfort. I watched this scene without much expression. In my past life, I went out to play with Sushi, who was also young. I just went to buy an ice cream, and in that short time, my sister left with a seemingly wealthy trafficker. I chased desperately after them but couldn't catch up. When Mom, Dad, and my brother found out, they blamed me for everything. Even I felt like a sinner. Thus, I endured their torment and abuse for 13 years, living a life of constant fear, worse than a pig or a dog, until I turned 20 and my sister was found. As soon as she returned, she easily won the affection of the whole family. I also felt a reduction in the guilt of not looking after my sister properly, which led to her abduction. But my sister looked at me and pointed. The reason I got lost was because my older sister sold me to human traffickers, saying I was an extra child in the family. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been separated from Mom, Dad, and brother for so long. I really missed you all. When those words came out, my family's expressions changed instantly. They deeply believed Sushi, who had been doted on since childhood. They turned and took turns slapping me, forcing me to kneel and kowtow to Sushi to admit my mistake. My life afterwards was even more hellish, without a single day of peace. It wasn't until I was tortured to death that Sushi smugly told me the reason. Talk about good luck. My family was poor when I was little, and I didn't want to live a hard life, so I went with the traffickers and got a bunch of rich parents. It's just a pity they went bankrupt as soon as I came of age. Luckily, I saw in the newspaper that my biological parents had become rich, so I came looking. Otherwise, you would have had this good life all to yourself. I never expected Sushi to be so scheming and malicious. I died filled with resentment, only to open my eyes and find I had been reborn in the year Sushi returned. I also discovered I could control the content of my inner voice and direct who could hear it. I looked at Sushi, nestled in Mom's embrace, an irrepressible smile tugging at her lips. I felt a little like smiling myself. In this life, I also wanted to see how Mom, Dad, and Su Shijin would maintain their affection for Sushi after seeing her true colors. When Dad finished his call and pushed the door open with a livid face, he saw Sushi crying a river of tears, while Mom gently patted her back, comforting her. I lowered my eyes. Seeing him like this, I knew Dad had already found out what happened to Sushi after she got lost. Sigh next, my sister is going to frame me for her abduction to gain the family's attention. Sushi indeed did not disappoint me. After Dad came in, she began to sob. Dad, actually, when we were little, it was Sister who pushed me to the bad guys when I wasn't paying attention. She said I was an extra child in the family, and you'd be happy if I disappeared. Sushi looked up at them, her eyes red, her voice a whisper. Is that really true? If only she could have been a little more observant then, she would have noticed Mom clearly retracting the hand that was patting her back, and even Dad frowned. I flinched, my eyes instantly turning red. Dad's tone was heavy. Your sister couldn't possibly do such a thing. Mom chimed in. That's right, your sister Wonking has always been a good, obedient child. Good and obedient, I thought they didn't know. Hearing this assessment, a wave of irony washed over me. 2 lifetimes, and this was the first time I heard them praise me. I thought they always called me a jinx, a menace, a troublemaker. Did they truly not see what kind of person I was? I sniffled, clearly aggrieved, and said, Sister, how can you frame me like this? It was clearly you who disliked our family's poverty when you were little and deliberately went with the traffickers. What does that have to do with me? After saying this, I instinctively covered my mouth, as if I had accidentally let out a secret. Sushi's face changed drastically, and she blurted out, How do you know? The room instantly fell silent. Mom and Dad's faces turned ugly. Sushi also realized she had misspoken and frantically tried to explain, only making things worse. Seeing Mom and Dad's faces as black as ink, Sushi gritted her teeth, rolled her eyes, and fainted. Su Shi's body suddenly went limp, and she fell straight down. Mom and Dad were startled and hurriedly called the servants to take Su Shi back to her room. I couldn't help but purse my lips. Quite the actress. Wonking, tell Mom honestly, do you know something about your sister? Mom asked tentatively, a hint of suspicion in her tone. I instinctively waved my hands, shaking my head frantically. I don't know, I really don't know anything. In my past life, because of Su Shi's lies, Mom and Dad were utterly disappointed in me, ultimately leading to my tragic death. They and my brother also became displaced and lived miserable lives because of her. In this life, I absolutely cannot repeat the same mistakes. I must protect Mom, Dad, and my brother. Mom and Dad's expressions clearly wavered. They exchanged a look. That night, I quietly walked to the door of my parents' room. Honey, so you can also hear Wonking's inner voice. Could it be that everything Wonking said is true? She really? Mom's voice was very soft, tinged with a tremor. But she has only been back for such a short time. Let's wait and see. Dad sighed. I sneered silently and turned to leave. Of course, I knew their favoritism towards Su Shi wouldn't be shaken so easily, but it didn't matter. This trust, beautified by memory, would eventually crumble. After visiting the kitchen, I carried a glass of hot milk towards Su Shi's room. Pushing open the door, I saw Su Shi staring greedily at a full closet of designer clothes. Mom and Dad had specially ordered them when they received news of her return. It was ironic. After our family became wealthy, Mom would scold me for being vain and shameless if I even wore clothes costing over 100 yuan. As for Su Shi, they would have plucked the stars from the sky for her. Seeing me, Su Shi immediately put on a fierce expression and strode towards me menacingly. Su Wonking, what nonsense were you spouting in front of Mom and Dad this afternoon? When did I ever tell you I thought our family was poor when I was little? You didn't say it. You said it when I was about to die in my previous life. I looked at her with a half smile. In my past life, while Su Shi was tormenting me in various ways, she actually revealed why she did it. It was nothing more than feeling that after she left, I had taken her place and lived a good life after our parents became rich. Even though Mom and Dad repeatedly emphasized that I had lost my sister and therefore hadn't had an easy life after she left, Su Shi was still dissatisfied. She wanted to be the only treasured daughter in the Su family, doted on by Mom, Dad, and Su Shijin. To please her, those three stood by coldly as I was bullied and tormented by Su Shi, even joining in multiple times, until I died from the abuse. I smiled at the Su Shi in front of me, pretending not to have heard her hostile words, and offered the milk in her direction. Sister, you fainted this afternoon. You must be hungry by now, right? I warmed some milk for you. Have some to tide you over. Su Shi stared at the milk and suddenly fell silent, her eyes flickering as if she was thinking about something. But I, with my sharp ears, heard faint footsteps outside the door behind me. Oh no, I forgot, in my past life, my sister drank the milk I gave her, and then lied to Mom and Dad that I had drugged it. No matter how I explained back then, Mom and Dad wouldn't listen. They even locked me in the basement for 3 days and 3 nights, nearly starving me to death because of my sister's lie. I suddenly and nervously pulled back the hand holding the cup, but Su Shi grabbed it, snatched the milk from my hand, pushed me down, and then tilted her head back and drank it. After finishing the milk, Su Shi looked at me somewhat triumphantly. Su Wonking, aren't you something? Well, today I'll show you who the most important daughter in the Su family is. After saying this, Su Shi threw the cup directly to the floor, clutched her stomach, and started wailing at me, a triumphant look still on her face. Ah, my stomach hurts so much. Sister, why did you try to harm me? Just then, the door creaked open. Su Shijin stood at the doorway with a grim expression, coldly watching Su Shi's performance. His gaze swept over me, tinged with a hint of unspoken words. Oh, so it was the cuckold outside the door. Brother, sister poisoned the milk. My stomach hurts so much. Su Shi cried pitifully, pointing at me accusingly. I didn't poison it. I abruptly looked up, my eyes red, my face full of grievance as I looked at Su Shijin. However, when Su Shijin looked at me, his face had a gentleness it never had before. He bent down, picked up the broken glass pieces from the floor, looked at the milk still staining them, and his tone was icy. Whether Wonking poisoned it or not isn't for you to say. I'll send it for testing to see if it's true or if someone is lying. Hearing this, I almost rolled my eyes. So he does have a brain. In my past life, Su Shi said she saw me seducing Su Shijin's friend. Su Shijin, without distinguishing right from wrong, gave me a severe beating. I thought he was brainless. A flicker of astonishment appeared on Su Shi's originally triumphant face. She immediately clutched her stomach and said weakly, "Brother, I might have eaten something bad this afternoon, so my stomach started hurting. Perhaps I misunderstood sister." I carefully spoke up, you haven't eaten since you fainted this afternoon. Could it be that you're hungry?" Su Shijin abruptly looked up, his cold gaze shooting towards Su Shi. "You don't know if you've eaten or not? You immediately blame your kind sister who brought you milk. Su Shi, do you have any shame left?" The commotion soon attracted Mom and Dad. "What's going on here?" Mom looked puzzled. Su Shijin sneered. Su Shi framed wonking for poisoning her. After I said I'd send it for testing, now she's saying her stomachache might be from hunger. Dad, on the other hand, looked impatient. "How old are you all, still throwing these childish tantrums? All right, everyone disperse." Since Dad had spoken, Su Shijin and I could only leave. As I closed Su Shi's door, I saw Mom tenderly cradling Su Shi in her arms. After all, she was the precious daughter who had been lost for over a decade. If it were me, I probably wouldn't receive such good treatment. I followed Su Shijin out of the room. After a few steps, he stopped, looked at me hesitantly for a good while, and finally asked, "Wonking, what do you think of Kui Yaoqian, that friend of mine who often comes over? Isn't that the friend who cuckolded Su Shijin?" I smiled. Su Shijin was truly blind. The guy was already making eyes at Su Shijin's girlfriend, and he still thought they were just good buddies. I feigned hesitation, stammering, "Well, I think his character isn't very good, brother, don't ask me. Mom and Dad said it's not good to comment on others." "How can you tell his character isn't good?" Su Shijin pressed. I waved my hands nervously. No, I was just saying casually. I can't possibly say that in my past life, this Kui Yaoqian not only cuckolded brother, but also teamed up with sister to slander brother publicly, can I? Brother is so pitiful. In his past life, he died without knowing that the rumors about his erectile dysfunction and mental illness were spread by his own precious sister, Su Shi. Su Shijin's face turned green. Before he could ask any more questions, I quickly slipped away. The next day at the dining table, the atmosphere was somewhat strange. Except for Mom occasionally putting food on Su Shi's plate, everyone else seemed lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Su Shi broke the silence. "Dad, Mom, when will you formally announce that I've been found?" Su Shi smiled sweetly. "Our Su family isn't a small, unknown family anymore. Since I'm a daughter of the Su family, we should let outsiders know that the Su family has a second young miss, right?" As soon as Su Shi finished speaking, the expression on my face froze. In my past life, I was framed by Su Shi, locked in the basement by my parents without a drop of water, and on the verge of hallucinating from hunger, I could still hear laughter and joyful sounds from outside. At that time, Mom, Dad, and Su Shijin, to welcome Su Shi back, specially held a grand banquet for her, announcing to everyone that Su Shi was their little princess. Su Shi, supported by her family, enjoyed immense prestige, and emboldened by this affection, tormented me even more relentlessly. Even though I was reborn, I would still subconsciously feel fear at the thought of the torment from my past life, even to the point of starting to retch. I covered my mouth and dry heaved a few times, instantly attracting the attention of everyone at the table. My mind raced. It's over. My sister is going to spread rumors about my promiscuous private life again, but I just have a bit of a stomach problem, right? Should I get my medical records from upstairs to prove it to Mom and Dad? "Sister, what's wrong with you? Could it be?" Su Shi feigned surprise, covering her mouth, her gaze drifting towards my lower abdomen. "Could it be that you're pregnant?" She glanced at me with a half-smile. "Sister wanted to get married and fall in love early since she was little. Have you already gone through dozens of boyfriends by now? Sister, quickly tell me, is your current boyfriend the black guy you liked most when you were little?" Dad's face darkened. Don't talk nonsense." I sneered inwardly. My eyes, after retching, were tearful, looking exceptionally pitiful. I'm so angry, my sister is indeed talking nonsense. But how can I persuade Mom and Dad not to throw a welcome party for her? In my past life, my sister took the opportunity of the banquet to meet the son of a rival company. To curry favor with him, she even plagiarized the proposal my brother worked so hard on, causing my brother to be sued and the company to suffer heavy losses. The company already lost an important project after my sister came back. If something happens to brother too, how will this family survive? Su Shijin's expression changed drastically. "I disagree." Su Shijin abruptly stood up, his tone grim. She doesn't even understand basic etiquette and rules. She doesn't have the slightest demeanor of a well-bred young lady. Let her learn the rules first. Otherwise, even if we announce to the public that she's a daughter of our Su family, it will only bring shame. But Mom looked hesitant, glancing at Su Shi with pity, seemingly wanting to speak up for her. Great. This way, she won't have a chance to meet that man, nor will she have a chance to steal Mom's beloved jewelry to please his mother. Mom's expression also changed, and she agreed, Shijin is right. Girls should pay attention to their demeanor and upbringing. The smile on Su Shi's face could no longer be maintained. A trace of malice flashed in her eyes. HMPH, she abruptly pushed back her chair. What rules? Acting like the Qing dynasty hasn't ended. I see you're not really welcoming me back. After saying this, Su Shi left the dining room without looking back. And Dad, who always cared about face and liked to be praised by his children, looked increasingly grim. Later, Su Shi tried various tactics of persuasion, still wanting a grand welcome party for herself. But with Mom and Su Shijin strictly guarding against it, and Dad vaguely feeling that this daughter was somewhat unlucky and disobedient, the welcome party ultimately did not happen. But Su Shi was still a daughter of the Su family. Since she was back, she still had to continue her schooling. Dad directly donated a building, allowing Su Shi to attend the same university as me under the identity of my distant cousin. He even got her a supplementary credit card for her convenience in buying clothes and for pocket money. But Su Shi was still the same Su Shi, greedy, selfish, and self-righteous. No matter how much she got, she was never satisfied. On the way to school, Su Shi sat in the back seat of their luxury car, constantly cursing. I'm the biological daughter, is that so hard to say? What distant relative? I'm biological, this old fool must be muddled. A supplementary card only has a 20,000 yuan limit. So stingy, what can you even do with so little money? Sitting next to her, I put down my book and said gently, Dad is already taking good care of you. This money is enough for you to buy many things. After all, even now, I had to rely on part-time jobs to earn my living expenses. None of your business, Su Shi glared at me. Hypocrite, of course, you hope I live poorly. Maybe this old fool gives you even more money. From the corner of my eye, I saw the driver in the distance involuntarily frown. This person was Dad's confidant and could usually speak his mind in front of Dad. Both Su Shijin and I were very polite to him. Presumably, as soon as we got out of the car, Su Shi's words would reach Dad's ears verbatim. In the following days, Su Shi used the card Dad gave her to spend extravagantly, buying designer bags and limited edition sneakers, as if to make up for everything she hadn't enjoyed in the past 13 years. Meanwhile, I continued to maintain excellent grades and, on several occasions, mentioned suitable investment projects to Mom and Dad through my inner voice, allowing Dad to make a fortune. My obedience and sensibility quickly formed a stark contrast with Su Shi's increasingly outrageous behavior. It also made Dad FROWN Chinese letter every time he looked at Su Shi. After dinner one evening, Dad stopped me and Su Shi as we were about to leave. I saw your final exam report card. It's really unsatisfactory. Look at your sister, she's always first in her department in every exam, and she's received countless scholarships and certificates. Dad's tone carried obvious reproach. You were born to the same parents, how can the difference be so big? Su Shi's eyes reddened, and tears immediately fell. Dad, I know I didn't do well, but that's because I didn't receive a good education since I was little. While sobbing, she secretly glanced at me. Unlike sister, who enjoyed the best resources in the family since she was young. Enough, Dad interrupted her, unable to bear it any longer. You know very well how much allowance your adoptive parents gave you each month. Don't play pitiful in front of me. It would have been better if Su Shi hadn't mentioned the past. The moment she did, Dad's expression quickly turned ugly. Looking at the disappointing Su Shi, Dad slammed his hand on the table. There are some things I don't want to spell out, but don't take your father for a fool. I had someone investigate. You were sold to a family, but their conditions weren't bad either. Dad's face was grim. If your adoptive parents hadn't gone bankrupt in the first 2 months, and you hadn't tricked them out of their last bit of savings, they wouldn't have jumped into the river and committed suicide. Even if you weren't with us for these dozen or so years, how could you live so selfishly? Sometimes, when one is speechless, one really wants to laugh. Anyone who didn't know might think everyone in the Su family was incredibly kind and tolerant. They were all just egoists. Only when their own interests were stepped on would they jump. Su Shi was merely a chip off the old block, only more so. Su Shi's face was pale, still trying to argue. I. Mom and Su Shijin said nothing. Only I spoke up. Dad, she just came back, maybe she's not used to it yet. Give her a little more time. Dad frowned at me. Wonking, you don't need to speak up for her. If she can't demonstrate her value, she will continue to live as your distant cousin in the future. Our Su family has no room for idlers. Hearing this, Su Shi was completely dumbfounded. She had originally thought that as long as she returned to the Su family, she could live a life of luxury and doting affection. She never imagined that now even her identity as a Su family daughter might be gone. However, due to Su Shi's disappointing performance, and because I seemed more like a sister who would care for her brother, with Su Shijin's help, and after Dad had seen several of my project proposals, he called me into the study. Wonking, Dad sees you have a lot of talent in business. How about coming to the company to help Dad? Dad smiled at me, his eyes full of admiration. I wasn't surprised at all, but I looked incredibly grateful. Thank you, Dad. I will definitely work hard. Ever since I joined the company, Su Shi, who had initially tried to put on an act, completely dropped the pretense. Every time she saw me, she looked fierce, as if she wanted to bite a chunk of flesh off me. And when I ran into Su Shi at the school gate, she was tightly clutching a newly bought limited edition bag, looking at me with an uncertain expression. I glanced at Su Shi, and seeing no one nearby, chuckled softly. Some people only know how to spend money. No wonder Dad doesn't think much of you and entrusted the company's future to me. You don't know yet, do you? I've already suggested to Dad that your living expenses be reduced to $5,000 a month. I really don't know how you're going to squander money now. Su Shi's face instantly flushed red. She lunged forward a few steps, pointing at my nose. You. Su Shi gritted her teeth in anger. You bitch. You've been sowing discord ever since I came back. The way I am now is all because of you. If I don't teach you a lesson, you'll really walk all over me. As she spoke, Su Shi made a move to hit me, but was stopped by the driver Dad had sent to pick me up. Miss Su, please compose yourself, the driver said expressionlessly. Su Shi cursed at the driver like a mad dog. Who do you think you are? How dare you stop me? You just wait. And you, Su Wonking, I won't let you off. After I got into the car, the driver couldn't help but speak. Miss, second Mrs. Temper. I interrupted him, saying gently, Uncle Wang, don't tell Dad about these small matters. I don't want him to worry. After all, if Dad intervened now, how would Su Shi retaliate against me next? I smiled and shook my head, looking at the collaboration documents on my phone. Sure enough, within a few days, indecent photos of me were exposed on the campus network. The photos were poorly photoshopped, but sensational enough. Su Shi led the charge in ridiculing me on the forum, her words extremely vicious. Facing those varied gazes, I calmly collected all the evidence and then dialed the police. Su Shi, who was leading the sarcastic remarks nearby, panicked when she saw my action and rushed over to snatch my phone. What are you doing? Calling the police, I answered calmly. Don't call the police. Su Shi's face instantly turned deathly pale. Why are you calling the police over such a small thing? It's not like you'll lose a piece of flesh just because people looked a few times. Why are you so delicate? Hearing this, I looked at her amusedly. It's not you who's being maliciously slandered. You're so nervous. Could it be that you're the one spreading rumors online? Su Shi refused to admit it, her eyes darting around. Hilarious, what does it have to do with me? I remained expressionless and pressed the call button. Fine, then let the police investigate. Seeing that I had really called the police, Su Shi finally panicked. Wait, I did it, so what? It was just to teach you a lesson. Very good, that's exactly what I was waiting for you to say. I backhanded her across the face, preempting Su Shi. Su Shi, are you crazy? Do you think you're messing with me? You're messing with the Su family. I'm a daughter of the Su family, and if something happens to me, it concerns the reputation of the entire Su family. Su Shi didn't understand these words at all. She screamed and lunged at me to fight, and I fought back without showing any weakness. After all, I had been wanting to beat up Su Shi for a very long time. Soon, this farce ended with the arrival of Mom and Dad, who had been called by the school. Mom and Dad's faces were livid. After I briefly stated what happened, Su Shi cried and refuted, insisting that I had framed her. Mom looked at Su Shi with disappointment, her eyes red. Shi, how could you be like this? Dad slapped Su Shi across the face, harder than I had. Su Shi, what did your sister say wrong? You even spread lewd rumors about your own sister. You've disappointed me too much. From today onwards, stay at home obediently. Don't go anywhere. Save me the embarrassment outside. Su Shi clutched her face and screamed, "You're biased. You always side with her." She glared at me viciously. It was obvious that if Mom and Dad weren't here, she would have pounced on me and fought. This child, how did she become like this? Mom couldn't hold back anymore, and tears streamed down her face. I walked over, gently hugged her, and comforted her softly. Compared to Su Shi, who was still yelling abuse, I was an incredibly well-behaved daughter. Su Shi, however, was not content after being grounded. After secretly taking one of Mom's cards, she began to frequent various entertainment venues. I looked at the photo on my phone of Su Shi hugging a man with a full beard, a smile playing on my lips. I directly dialed the bar owner's number. That diseased male escort I mentioned last time, you can arrange him for my dear sister. Soon, under my secret arrangements, Su Shi hit it off with a strikingly handsome, albeit diseased, male escort. After a whole month of partying, our family finally sat down together for breakfast after a long time. However, Su Shi was listless the entire time, occasionally licking the inside of her mouth. I feigned confusion. "Shi, what's wrong with your mouth?" Su Shijin had sharp eyes and pried open Su Shi's mouth. "What is this?" he exclaimed. Su Shi's mouth was full of white, cauliflower-shaped ulcers. Mom and Dad immediately stood up in alarm. "To the hospital. Let's go now." Su Shi was initially unwilling, but after Dad forcibly took her to the hospital for an examination, the results came out quickly. Su Shi had partied too hard and had contracted genital warts. Not only that, but when Dad questioned her about what happened, Su Shi tried to explain but suddenly felt nauseous and began to retch violently. I retched because I was disgusted by her. She retched because she was genuinely pregnant. Upon hearing this news, Dad's eyes rolled back and he fainted on the spot. After Dad fell unconscious, Su Shijin and I had to temporarily take on the responsibilities of the company. Su Shijin was an incredibly vengeful person. Remembering my inner voice mentioning the future where Su Shi harmed him, he immediately sent the pregnant and diseased Su Shi to a so-called sanatorium. When Dad woke up, he found he was paralyzed from anger. But what was done was done. He could only think of entrusting the company to us two for management, but unfortunately, he forgot what kind of person his son was. Su Shijin had little business talent, relying on diligence to make up for his shortcomings, plus Dad's constant guidance. Now that Dad was paralyzed and needed to recuperate, and he had a new girlfriend, he simply handed over most of the company's work to me. Of course, I didn't feel it was unfair. Instead, under the guise of caring for my brother, I took it all on, and then secretly transferred those important projects to my own company. From the day I was reborn, I had been secretly establishing my own company. From the moment I joined our family company, I had been secretly transferring assets I could access. Now, the room for maneuver was even greater. Su Shijin's lack of diligence and Dad's helplessness provided me with the greatest convenience. From the very beginning, my target was not just Su Shi. Recalling my past life, after Su Shi returned, Mom and Dad stood by coldly as I was tormented, even joining in. I became the family's toy for venting emotions. And if it weren't for their indulgence, Su Shi wouldn't have been so rampant. They were all culprits in my death in my past life. None of them could escape. And Su Shijin, using the excuse of going abroad to find a famous doctor for Dad, actually went on vacation with his new girlfriend. By the time he returned, Su Corporation's stock had hit its limit down, and the company had been completely hollowed out by me. Su Shijin stormed into my office furious. "Su Wonking, what have you done?" I looked innocent. "Brother, what are you talking about? I was just following Dad's instructions." "Brother dear, Dad is making you take the fall. Don't blame me." Su Shijin looked at me half convinced. He looked through some of the company's recent financial statements and, after seeing the evidence I deliberately left, finally believed my words. Dad had evaded taxes, and to escape responsibility, he handed the company over to him, letting him go to jail in his place. Su Shijin believed it to be true and rushed home to question his paralyzed father. "Dad, why did you do this? Why did you harm me?" Dad hadn't figured out what was happening yet. His only non-paralyzed hand slapped Su Shijin. Su Shijin, consumed by rage, pushed Dad away. Dad's head hit the bedpost hard, and he instantly went still. Now Su Shijin was completely dumbfounded. He thought he had accidentally killed someone. He stumbled out of the house and sped towards the airport. But on the highway to the airport, his car collided head-on with a large truck, and he died on the spot. When I went to visit Sushi at the sanatorium, she reeked, and her mental state wasn't good. Only when she saw me did she revert to that ferocious look, which made me want to laugh. "Dear sister, how are your days in here?" I looked at her, smiling. "Oh, I forgot you were talking nonsense the first 2 days and lost half your tongue because of it." Sushi had also been reborn, just at a different point in time. By the time she realized what was happening in the sanatorium, she was screaming that I was a reborn monster. I had invested in this sanatorium, so of course, I got the news immediately and dealt with it immediately. I sat in front of her, my face glowing with the success of my career. "By the way, I forgot to tell you, brother's funeral was just held. Isn't it such a coincidence that he got into a car accident not long after leaving home? Tusk tusk. And also, he was burned to a pile of debris. Even the medical examiner had a hard time picking out his ashes. I just put a lump of dog food in the urn, it's just a memento anyway." That push brother gave Dad. Although Dad didn't die, he suffered a blow from external force and a shock, and now he's in a vegetative state. I found a hospital for Dad that costs 500 yuan a month for care. So Dad is still alive. Sushi stared at me intently, trying hard to reach through the iron bars to grab my neck, but she was always just a little short. "Oh, and Mom." I smiled at her. After so many things, Mom also suffered a considerable blow and is always in a daze. I simply sent her to the mental hospital next door. I have shares there too, so you can rest assured. I stood up, patting off non-existent dust from my clothes, my smile deepening. "You and the rest of Mom and Dad's lives, I will definitely take care of you all, clearly and properly. After all, we are family." Amidst Sushi's hateful, struggling, hee-hee sounds, I chuckled with satisfaction and left. Life is still long. I just wonder how much longer my dear family members will live.